Welcome to a Selfie Seeker Deep Dive. This is really a space for reflecting on those challenging times when life seems to just stop responding. You know, those moments, right? When nothing seems to move forward, no matter how much effort you pour into it, how much you try to surrender, or how hard you strive for alignment, just nothing. So, we invite you now to simply sit back, maybe take a breath, and just listen. Because this deep dive isn't really about finding quick fixes or, external strategies to suddenly make things work again. It's more an invitation to be with yourself in a completely different way during those really difficult, kind of stagnant moments. Think back for a moment. Can you remember a time in your own life when things felt like they were fundamentally falling apart? You gave it your absolute everything. Maybe it was a career setback, a relationship ending, a health challenge, something like that, but it just felt like all the doors stayed stubbornly shut, like you were hitting a wall. Oh, definitely. That feeling of being met with silence when you're just desperate for progress is incredibly powerful and, frankly, yeah, disorienting. We're so conditioned, aren't we, to believe that if we work hard enough or good enough or aligned enough, things should just come together. And when they don't, it's so easy to spiral into thinking something has gone terribly wrong, or even worse, that something is fundamentally wrong with us.
Absolutely. It feels like a personal failure, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
But as the article we're diving into today explores, sometimes things fall apart or just sort of stop, not as a punishment, but almost as a necessary stripping away.
Right.
Maybe a way to clear the noise, the distractions, and reveal something much deeper that we just couldn't see amidst all the constant motion.
Exactly. And that's what we want to frame this deep dive around, really. What it truly means to meet these no moments from life, that silence, that stillness, that um, lack of forward momentum, meeting it not with despair or frantic trying, but with a quiet presence.
Not with performance, trying to prove our worth by fixing it all, but with a deep, quiet inner strength that's actually already there.
And this entire conversation, it draws from a really insightful article written by Hellen Modiba for Selfie Seeker. So we'll be reflecting her key insights throughout our chat today and exploring a framework she created specifically for these kinds of moments. It's called the Path to Sovereignty.
Helen mentions in the article that this framework was inspired by Dr. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, which some listeners might know, but she's beautifully adapted it. She's created these 6 accessible levels designed specifically to support those navigating periods of significant change, uncertainty, and, well, deep emotional growth.
Right.
Essentially when life feels stuck or empty.
And when we talk about sovereignty in this context, it's important to clarify it's not about ruling anything external, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about cultivating an inner autonomy, a sense of self that remains grounded and authentic, regardless of what the external circumstances are doing or maybe not doing.
It's about reclaiming your inner world when the outer one feels completely out of control.
Yeah.
And these 6 levels Helen outlines provide such a clear lens, to understand our internal landscape when we're faced with those external challenges and that really palpable feeling of emptiness or silence. It helps us see where we might be operating from and, crucially, offers a pathway forward. Or maybe inward is a better word.
Inward. Yeah, I like that. So the 6 levels are survival, stability, self-awareness, integrity, wholeness, and freedom. Now, don't worry at all about memorizing them right now. They kind of build on each other. And there's actually a great free Selfie Seeker resource linked in the show notes. It's got the full breakdown you can explore later on.
Definitely worth checking out.
So to really bring this framework to life, the article introduces us to someone named Mandy. And Mandy is navigating a really, really tough season. Her company, something she poured years of her life and energy into, has closed its doors. A significant relationship has just ended. And to top it all off, she's been sending out job application after job application for months, and her inbox is just silent.
Crickets.
Total crickets.
Oh, that's the perfect illustration, isn't it? Life itself seemingly going silent for her.
Yeah.
Everything she thought was holding her, everything that defined her external reality, and let's face it, probably a lot of her identity has begun to dissolve. And it leaves her sitting with this profound emptiness, this lack of external validation or movement, and absolutely no clear sense of what's supposed to happen next.
Yeah.
It's that really unnerving space where the silence feels strangely vast and somehow personal.
And using Mandy's unfolding experience as it's shared in the article gives us such a relatable way to illustrate how someone might feel and, potentially move through each level of this path to sovereignty. Yes. Reflecting on her internal responses, her inner dialogue, the things she tries, and even her moments of resistance. It It can really signal where she is emotionally. And critically, it offers powerful insight for you, the listener, navigating your own silent times.
Okay, so let's look at where Mandy starts. The article describes her at her lowest point, feeling utterly rejected by life itself. She's waking up in a state of panic. The silence of her inbox feels deafening, almost like a personal judgment. Her self-worth is just eroding day by day. This is the first level.
Survival.
Survival. It's a really primal state, right? It's dominated by fear, by hopelessness. The question echoing inside her is loud and clear. What's wrong with me? She feels utterly powerless against this tide of external circumstances.
Yeah.
The article points out that in this state, joy just feels impossible because her nervous system is flooded with scarcity and alarm. It's just about getting through the next hour, the next day.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is how the article notes that even in this really raw state, there's a quiet truth. You're still here. Sovereignty, even at this lowest level, begins not with trying to fix everything, but with simply recognizing that survival mode isn't a character flaw. It's not something to be ashamed of.
Right. It's a clear signal, a call for deep self-care and presence, even right there amidst the panic.
So from that place of pure panic, Mandy does something incredibly relatable. She moves into level 2. Stability. She sort of springs into action. She updates her CV, starts applying for even more jobs, joins some productivity group online, meticulously makes a budget, all that stuff.
Doing mode.
Yeah, total doing mode. Her internal narrative shifts to something like, I need to bounce back, prove I'm okay.
And this does bring a sense of momentum, doesn't it? A feeling of doing something. But as the article highlights so well, it's often fueled by urgency and reactivity.
Yeah.
These actions aren't necessarily grounded in any inner clarity. Her identity is still deeply tied to proving her worth through external achievement. She's desperately trying to fix the external circumstances that feel so broken.
This is where so many of us get stuck, isn't it? We confuse that frantic movement, the doing, the striving, the trying, with genuine inner progress.
Absolutely.
We're still tethered to that need to prove ourselves, to show the world and ourselves that we can bounce back, but purely on the external playing field.
Exactly. And the question for sovereignty at this stability level is just crucial. Am I genuinely stabilizing my foundation here, or am I maybe just distracting myself from the discomfort by being relentlessly busy? The feeling is reactive, it's tense, it's a constant pushing against the inner unease and the external silence. It's all outward-focused energy.
So what happens next for Mandy, according to the article, is a real turning point. She moves into level 3, self-awareness. After kind of exhausting herself with all the doing, she finally starts journaling. She allows herself to stop running and actually feel the raw grief she's been pushing away. You know, the loss of her company, the relationship, the future she had envisioned, all of it.
And this is where her worth begins to unhook, slowly, sometimes painfully, from just being productive or achieving those external goals. She starts seeing the immense weight she's been carrying, maybe inherited expectations, old emotional wounds, the stories she'd bought into about what success really meant, stories that weren't authentically hers.
Yeah. This level is often the most painful, isn't it? Facing the truth of what's really going on inside, the unprocessed emotions, the limiting beliefs. It's tough.
It really is.
But the article beautifully shows how it also brings immense clarity. She begins to notice her own patterns that urge to perform, the deep fear of stillness. She starts speaking more gently to herself, and crucially, she stops trying to force answers or fix things externally.
Right.
Instead, she starts asking much better questions about what's truly happening within her.
The feeling its self-awareness is really one of beginning to notice. Just noticing. Noticing the pain, noticing the patterns, noticing the inner critic, noticing the grief. It's about meeting yourself, maybe for the first time, without judgment. The core question shifts to something like, what's the truth I've been avoiding looking at?
Yeah.
And that requires a lot of courage just to be with the discomfort.
As Mandy stays with that discomfort and starts gaining that inner clarity, she begins moving towards level 4, integrity. Here, the article describes her starting to redefine success, not by external validation anymore, the job title, the income, the relationship status, but by her own inner compass. She actually writes a new personal value statement. She starts making choices based on what feels genuinely aligned with her emerging truth, rather than just what looks impressive to others or what she feels she should do.
And the article gives a really powerful, tangible example here. Mandy turns down a job interview.
Right.
It pays well, it's a reputable company. Something the old Mandy, the stability mode Mandy, would have jumped at in a heartbeat.
Definitely.
But it doesn't align with her newly clarified values. with the person she's discovering herself to be? And she says no.
And this is so key, right? The outside circumstances in Mandy's life might not have shifted much, yet she might still be without a traditional job. The relationship is still over.
Yeah, the silence might still be there externally.
Exactly. But something absolutely fundamental has changed within her. She feels this growing, quiet desire to live by her values, to be in integrity, even when it's difficult, even when it means saying no to those external opportunities that just don't fit her inner landscape anymore.
The question for sovereignty at the integrity level is really potent. What decision right now, however small or quiet it seems, truly reflects the person I want to become? It's often not about grand gestures, is it? It's lived out through these small, sometimes challenging choices that honor who she is becoming, regardless of the external outcomes or what others might think.
This leads her towards level 5, wholeness. The article paints such a beautiful picture of Mandy reaching a point where she starts to genuinely sense that maybe, just maybe, nothing is actually fundamentally wrong. Maybe life isn't actively working against her. Perhaps this whole period of stillness and dissolution is actually guiding her somehow.
Guiding her to slow down.
Yeah, guiding her to slow down, guiding her to build something more sustainable, something more deeply meaningful, but from the inside out.
She begins to feel truly at home in her own presence. The ground beneath her feet feels steadier, not because the external world has suddenly become stable, but because she is grounding herself internally.
She's present.
Yeah, she's present. And that stillness that once felt like a punishment
Yeah.
now starts to feel like a necessary space, maybe for preparation, for recalibration.
The article describes these simple but really profound shifts here. She adds intention to her mornings. She learns to actually enjoy unstructured time instead of fearing it or feeling guilty about it.
That's a big one.
Huge. She reconnects with friends, not with some networking agenda, but simply for genuine human connection, just to be and feel with them. She starts honoring her body's needs, setting boundaries, listening more to her intuition.
And this is the level where joy starts to return. Not a loud, forced, performance-based kind of joy,
No.
but a quiet, faithful presence of joy, rooted in just being present and honoring her own needs. Wholeness is where joy stops being conditional on outside circumstances and starts becoming your inner compass, maybe even your default state, not something you chase externally anymore.
Yeah.
The question here is really, how can I deeply honor myself fully right here in this moment?
Which then beautifully opens the door to level 6, freedom. At this highest level described in the article, Mandy laughs more freely. She still doesn't necessarily know exactly where she's headed professionally or romantically. The external picture might still be quite uncertain.
Right, the answers haven't all arrived.
Not at all. But she has cultivated such deep trust in the ground beneath her within herself.
She no longer sees life as an adversary or something she has to constantly battle or control. She sees it more as a co-creator, maybe like a dance she could participate in with openness. She's genuinely open to new paths emerging, without needing guarantees, without needing the universe to send her a signed offer letter or a perfect relationship contract before she can breathe easily and feel okay.
She chooses joy now.
Yeah.
Not because life has suddenly become easy or because all the external doors have magically swung open.
Yeah.
She chooses joy, she embodies joy because she has become easeful within herself. That relentless striving has just fallen away.
She knows at a deep, almost cellular level that nothing truly important can actually be lost: herself, her inherent worth, her capacity for joy, her connection to life itself. These aren't dependent on external outcomes anymore. She feels light, open, expansive, and at peace, even amidst the inherent uncertainty of being human.
Yeah.
The ultimate question for sovereignty at this level is maybe. Can I completely trust that life is unfolding with me, not against me, even when it makes absolutely no sense? Freedom isn't about escaping uncertainty. It's about embracing it with this deep wellspring of peace and trust within yourself.
Mandy's journey through these levels, as it's shared in the article, is just such a powerful reminder that sovereignty isn't some perfect, static state where you get everything right or control every external outcome.
No, definitely not.
It's deeply about how you choose to show up, moment by moment, when nothing is going your way, when life feels silent or stagnant.
It's about finding meaning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not waiting until the storm has passed and the sun is shining again, but finding meaning, depth, and maybe even that quiet joy right there in the middle of it.
Yeah.
in the space that the stillness actually creates.
The article really emphasizes that sovereignty isn't some destination you arrive at and then just be there forever. It's a living, breathing relationship.
A relationship.
A relationship with yourself, with life's unfolding, and with the choices you make every single day. It's a daily practice, really. A way of walking through the world that honors your deepest truth, even when it's uncomfortable.
And that choice, the choice to meet life with inner steadiness, to choose presence over panic, even when joy feels incredibly far away, that is perhaps the most profound act of quiet courage there is.
It really is.
And for anyone listening who's feeling called to explore this more within themselves, the article does mention a few practical resources. It offers 5 simple yet incredibly powerful ways to stay anchored when things feel like they're falling apart or just staying stubbornly still. Things like pause and reflect on your feelings. Identify your core values. Set clear boundaries. Release the need for control.
Big one.
Huge. And trust the journey. These aren't external fixes. They are potent internal anchors.
And it also provides some really helpful prompts tied to how you might be feeling to help you recognize which level you might be experiencing and then gently guide yourself toward more sovereignty. For example, if you feel that deep powerlessness of survival, it suggests asking, is there even one small way I can reclaim a tiny bit of power right now? Just tiny.
Right. Or if you're in that busy, reactive state of stability, you can pause and ask, am I acting from genuine clarity here or just from urgency and fear? At self-awareness, when you're starting to notice the pain, the question is, what truth has I been avoiding looking at?
When you feel that pull towards living in integrity, asking yourself, what decision reflects the person I want to become? And in the groundedness of wholeness, that simple, profound question, how can I deeply honor myself fully in this moment?
And finally, when you feel that lightness and trust emerging in freedom, asking the biggest question of all, maybe, can I truly trust that life is unfolding with me, not against me? These questions can be such powerful guides inward.
Definitely. And for those ready to seriously commit to this journey inward, to cultivate that inner steadiness when the outside world feels shaky or still, the article mentions a beautiful resource. It's the 21-day guided journal titled Your Path to Choosing Joy by Selfie Seeker. It's designed to walk you through this kind of inner exploration, and it's available now on Amazon.
Sounds great. And remember, there's also that free tool linked right there in the show notes. It's a resource specifically created to help you meet your own no moments, your own periods of silence and stillness with greater clarity and sovereignty, using this very same framework we've explored today from the article.
So as we finish this deep dive, we just want to invite you into a quiet moment of reflection.
Just pause, not to think or analyze, but simply to feel.
What would truly change in your life right now if you stopped waiting for life to open a door and chose instead to cultivate the inner ground to open your own?